is going to be on the machine learning and data science part. So I'll share this particular slides or this particular workbook after the. So first of all, in Anaconda, we work with cells. We have active cells and inactive cells, and there are two types of cells that we can create, either a code cell or a text cell. So for example, this cell that is active, this particular one, is a code cell, meaning I can write code and run it. But this one, for instance, is a text cell, so I can write reminders or I could put text there that could help me understand or remind me of whatever I'm doing with whatever that I'm doing. So that is the text cell. So today we will start with what we call variables. So variables are containers that stores a value. So for example, we could have a variable called x equal to, let's say, 5, meaning that this particular x is holding the value 5. This particular value x is holding, this particular variable x is holding the value 5. So anytime in the program we print, so print means print something on the screen, we print x, we will get the value 5. To run it, you can press shift and enter, it will run it. Even in Anaconda 2, you can still achieve that. So when you run it, because I'm using the online ID, to depend on my internet connection. Alright, so we have the output 5. So x is holding the value 5. Then after that, we could also have multiples of a variable. And one thing of variable is that um, it can change as the analysis or the program is going on. So this x, again, we could say x is equal to 10. Now when we print 10 x, we are getting the value 10 instead of 5, because this second one has override the first one. So the value of a variable can change as long as the program or the development is still ongoing. But in some cases, we have constant variables where it cannot be changed once it has been defined. So I will have x again, x is equal to 5. Then let's say y equal to 10.8. Then I'll have another variable called name. Okay, name equal to, then this I want a string data type, so I'll say Amin. Then I will explain various data type after this cell. Then the salary, I could define a salary equal to 50 or 16 point something other figures. Then I could say married equal to false. Okay, so these are some data types that we could have. So I will explain all these data types, and we will need to know all the various data types very well, so that it will aid us in what our analysis. So these are some of the data types we have in Python, which are very common, and we will use it day by day. So one thing about variables is that they are case sensitive. So if I have a variable called name, this, okay, so if I come and I will say, like, let's say print name like this, it will give me error because this particular name is different from this first name. So it's case sensitive. The way you define it, the same way you should call it. Capital letters are different from small letters. So that's what we mean by case sensitive. Then also, we will look at data types. So all these that we've defined above here are examples of variables, but each one of them has its own data types. So in Python we have about 6 data types. Yeah, 6 data types. So we have a text data type, numeric data type, sequence data type, mapping, set, and boolean. And I will define each one of them, then I will give an example. So I will delete this particular cell, then I will put a text cell over there. So I'll name this test data type. Test data type, then I'll put a code cell. So we will deal with test data type over here. So with test data type, what we have is only string. So strings are test data type. Now for example, I'll repeat the example we did earlier. So I'll say that name equal to how do you call this thing, quote, double quote. Then I'll put my name, let's say Mohammed Amin, this way. Okay, so I could use this double quote, or I could use single quote. Either way will work. So strings are characters that are not numbers. Okay, when you put a number, the Python compiler, Python interpreter or compiler understand that it's a number. But when you put a text, it won't know that it's a text. So unless you put it in the code. So in the Python, we only have one text type of what, a data type. So I'll put my full name over there, this way. Now I'll add another. No, we don't need code cell, we need text cell. Then no, after this guy. So we'll look at numeric data type. I don't know if I'm overspeeding. So numeric data type. So with numeric data type, we have three of them. We have integer, we have float, and we have complex numbers. We have integer, we have float, and we have complex numbers. So complex numbers are used for heavy mathematics, but I've never come across any situation that I have to use complex numbers before. But normally it's float and integer that are more popular. So for example, I could have a variable called age equal to, let's say, 27. Then I could have, let's say, amount equal to 34.8972, something like this. So the first one here is an integer type, and integers can be both positive and negative integers, and the second one is a float data type. So we will look at all the example. We will check how to know that this particular data type is this and this is for that. So and we can also have the complex numbers. So let's say I will call it com then equal to, let's say we could have 6 then j, like this. Okay, 6j. The moment you put the j there, that means that you are dealing with complex numbers. Okay. So we will look at the other um, data types. Then we have sequence list. Sequence data type. Let me add the list. Okay, let me take out the list. Sequence list. Then we look at an example. So with this, we have three of them. We have a list, a tuple, and also a range. All are example of sequence list. No, I don't need this. I need a code cell. Okay. So for example, sometimes let me use this example. You would like to classify a number of values under one variable. You want to classify a whole number of variables or values under one variable because they have similarities or they are very common. So you have to do that with a list. So for example, I could say items this way. Then I want to put them together. So in the traditional way, what I could do is I could say item 1 equal to, let's say, I'll give it a string, mango. Then I'll come again and say item 2. Then I could say orange. So assuming I have about hundreds of these items, that means I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. So it's going to take much time. So what I could do is I could have one item this way equal to, then I'll put it in a list. So to define a list, we have to use square brackets. We'll have a section on list, but this is an introduction. So you have a square bracket, then each element is being separated by a comma. So since we want to define a string list, so I'll make sure the codes are there. So I could put mango, comma, each element is being separated by a comma. Then orange. Then we could have pawpaw. Then we could have banana. This way. So this example of a sequence list. Then also we could have a tuple. Now a tuple has the same features and an understanding of a list. The only difference is that with tuple, once you define it, you cannot add something to it again. So when we get to list or sequence itself, we will look at some functions and methods and arithmetics that we can do with these sequence, list and tuple. But the only difference is that once you define a tuple, you cannot add something to it. You cannot remove something to it also. So for example, I will call it items 2. Then let me copy this same thing so that I will not repeat myself. Equal to. Now in tuples we don't use square bracket. We use the bracket. Okay, we use the bracket. Then you define your elements there. Then we have what we call range. So this is a special function that allows us to get a range of numbers, okay, between two points, let's say from a start up to an end. So if I want to generate numbers, okay, from 1 or from 0 to 10, I could say, for example, x equal to range. It's a function, so you have to bring a bracket. Then the formula is this: it has a start, then a colon, then end. It has a start, colon, end. So if I put 0 at the start, then colon, then I put, let's say 11 here, okay. Sorry, it's supposed to be comma. supposed to become a not colon. So X range 0 up to what, 11. So the first number is a start and the last number, the position is an end. So I could say print X, then it will print this particular range for me. So in order to get the individual element in that particular range, we have to use a for loop. So we will get there and see how we can get all of it. Now the range also has another argument we can add. So the first one is the start, the second one is the end, and the third one could be a step. Okay, a step that we want to take. So let's say, let me print it. So maybe we want to count from 0 up to 10 or 11. We want to skip by every 2 steps. So we start from 0. Instead of to print 1, we print 2. So we skip 1. Then we skip 3. We skip 5 in that order. So we keep skipping 2 by 2 in that way. But it's an optional argument. You can choose to leave it. Now we have another data type called mapping. Mapping. Now mapping is very similar to the sequence. Mapping is very, no, this is supposed to be, let me delete this. Alright. Mapping is very similar to the list. However, mapping comes with key value pairs. Mapping comes with what? Key value pairs. For example, if I want to define members of a class, and maybe with their features or their unique IDs, so I could say that members, okay, members equal to, then I'll put this particular bracket, carry bracket. Now I could define a key and a value. So let's say I'll put my name this way, then I'll put a colon, okay, a colon, then let me use strings. So let's say name, then a colon, then another string, let's say Mohammed Amin. So that's going to be the first item of the list. So this Amin here is the key, and the value is Mohammed Amin. So if I come here again, let me give it name 1 so that it will be distinguished. So I'll give another list string name 2 equal to Ali, then comma, then I'll give name 3 equal to Musa, this way. Okay, good. Let me add another one, name 4 equal to Summit, something like this. Now if I print the variable members, okay, I have them this way. Now I want to get the value of Amin. How do I achieve that? What I can do is I could put a square bracket here. So we call this slicing. Okay, we call it slicing. That means that you are taking part of the whole dictionary. You are not taking the entirety, but you are taking some element out of it. So if I put name 1 here, then I'll run this code, I'll have the value Mohammed Amin. Likewise, if I put name 2 over here, I'll have the value Ali. So in that order. So the first item you define, the first item before the column is the key, and the next item is the value. So that is the example of mapping. Then we look at the last one, which is Boolean. Boolean data type. So with Boolean data type, they have only one condition. They can be either true or false. It's called to true. They can be true, and they can be true and false. True or false. They can be in one state. They are either true or false. And the true we use the capital T. It starts with capital. So that one I don't really have a good example to show for now. So before we move to comment, I would like us to look at something. So one powerful thing about Python is that we can know the type of data type we are going to deal with, and this will help us a lot in our analysis. If you don't know the data type you are using, you could perform unnecessary arithmetics. You need to know the type of data type you are dealing. Sometimes you need to come out with a resource, and they're expecting the resource to be in an integer. In most data science competition, they want the answer to be either 0 or 1. But assuming having an answer like, let's say answer, you have an answer like a list, then I'll put, let's say, 1. Then let me print answer this way. The competition is expecting that, or the analysis, let me use that. The analysis is expecting that your answer should either be 1 or 0. If it is 1, you are correct. If it is 0, you've not achieved what you want to achieve. And you have something like this. When you submit, it means you are wrong, because this is not an integer 1. This is a list 1. So in almost the cases, you have to know the type of data type you are dealing with. And how to check that? So Python has a default function that helps you to determine the data type. So for example, I could say print then I put type here. So this function allows us to know the data type that we are working with. So if I print type, it will give me class of what? Integer. That means it's an integer. Likewise, if I do print type, then I put amount over there. Let me add another one. Print the type, then I'll put, let's say, comp. So when I run it, I have integer, float, and complex, and it's truly so: integer, float, and complex. So likewise, we'll do that for these particular ones. So print, is there a question? All right, say.
Is it really necessary to say you will not know the data? Because whatever data you are going to work with, you have it as raw data with you. Or
Come again.
I said, whatever data you are going to work with, for instance, you will have the data there, so you will know whether you are dealing with integer, you are dealing with strings.
Yes,
Or,
yes,
or
yes. That one is also there, but when we are using machine learning, so even with that, sometimes you have non-numerics data type. Maybe that particular column of data set is string. They are strings, and you need to convert it to, let's say, a number so that we can make certain
Okay.
arithmetics, because we cannot use the string to make the arithmetics. So sometimes there will be what conversion of data types, so you need to know. But you check it.
Okay.
Yes, you check it when it's necessary. If you know it, there is no need for you to check it. But to be on the safer side, once you are doing the analysis, and in some of these data science competition, they expect you to get certain results, especially with deep learning. They want you to get certain results, so they expect that you either get 0 or 1. So if we get a 1 in a list, it's not an integer 1.
That's fine.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you very much. I'm working on this one. That's fine. So let's check this data type. So print type item. Let me copy the whole thing. It's items. Let me put X there. So we have a list. This is a list. We have tuple, then a range data type. Then we can have these guys also. We have members. Members data type. It's supposed to be a dictionary, key value pairs. Then we have the boolean. So we have type of X, then print type of Y. Alright, we have this. Now we'll look at comment. We'll look at comment. Then I've already explained the data types. Then we look at numbers, typecasting, and also, yeah. So comments are basically a reminder you give in your code. So Python has two types of comment. We have the inline comment and the single line comment. So let's say, for example, in my code I could say hashtag this is a comment, something like this. This is a comment. So this will not have a direct input or a direct effect to the results of what we are doing. So this is a comment. So if I say print 5 over here, then I print it this way, I'll only get 5. This guy will not be printed out. So in a case where we want to have multiple line comment, we can use the quote, or even we can use this one multiple times, these hashtags multiple times. So whatever we type will not have a direct effect. Then data types, we've already explained the data types. I was supposed to put the code over there. These ones, these are numerics. Then we will look at numbers, which is part of the data type. Then we look at typecasting. Okay, typecasting. So this is very important. Say, like I was explaining, sometimes you need to convert from this data type to the other out of necessity.
Okay.
Yes, out of necessity, you need to convert from this data type to the other. It is very, very important. So, like for example, maybe in your data set, a particular column, the values are, let's say, either true or false. True or false. These are the possible, I mean,
Okay.
data in that particular column. You know, we cannot make arithmetic, we cannot make calculations with this value. So what we could do is that we could typecast it. Okay, we could convert it. We could say that true should stand for 1 and false should stand for 0. So when we get this value, we can
Maybe
make,
maybe for one. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
come again.
Yes, I said we could say maybe false stand for a number equal to a number, then no,
Uh-huh.
false.
Yes,
I mean, true also stand for a
for a
number.
number. Yes, so we need to typecast it or convert it. So this is how we do that in Python. So for example, if I have a variable called x equal to 1, then I have y equal to 2.9, then I have z equal to, let's say, 1j, which is a complex number. The moment you add the j, it means you are dealing with a complex number. So now I want to convert integer to a float. So let me give a comment and say that convert integer to a float this way. So I will define a new variable called a. So a equal to, then I'll put the value I want to change it in a function. So since I want to change to float, there is a float function this way. Float. Then I'll put x there because x is the integer. Now if I want to convert float to integer, then I could have a new variable called b equal to int then I'll put y there. Then if I want to convert complex to either int or float, let me use int. So I'll say convert complex to int. So it's going to be c equal to int, then I'll put z over there. Okay, so we could print all of them. So print a, print b, then print c. What is the error? Okay, let me comment that one out for now. All right, so when you do that, it will convert it to the various um, but I don't know why the complex number is giving us error. Typecasting the complex number.
I mean, yeah, it's like the
Come again, dog.
saving is the automatic saving is also failed. So I don't know. The
Which,
automatic saving is also, has also failed.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think there is internet. This one is internet. The automatic saving is internet. The network.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Ah.
But since I'm getting this red line, that means that there is an error. Okay, I don't know why I'm getting that error.
Maybe they explain the error will help.
Okay.
Maybe they explain error will help.
Yeah, that's what I'm checking. Int argument must be a string. Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. I now remember. We cannot we cannot typecast certain um, data types. For example, we cannot typecast uh, strings, certain strings to. So directly, we cannot typecast string to an integer, unless we have a way to
Mm.
replace it rather. But to make a direct typecasting is not possible. Yes. So complex numbers cannot be typecast to integer because of the nature of it. But float can be typecast to an integer. An integer too can be typecast to a float because all you need to do is to drop the decimals. But if you have a string, you cannot send it to uh, an integer unless you replace it. And we can only achieve that when we get to for loop. Yes, so this is typecasting. Then we will look at operators. We will look at operators. Before we come to string. Okay, but let's deal with strings before we come to operators. So Python um, has a very powerful methods for dealing with strings, and Python regards strings as an array. So Python, we see string as an array. What do we mean by that? So I could have a variable called a, then I could say this is a string. When I print a, I have this is a string. But then if I want to get only a, I want to print only a from the entire string. Python could allow me to do that because it's treating this particular string as an integer. So in order to do that, you provide the name of the variable, which is a, then you slice it. So use what a square bracket to do that. Now in programming, in general programming, we start counting from 0. So you need to know the position of the a that we want to get. So the t here is 0, the h is 1, I is 2, s is 3, the space here is 4, the I is 5, the x is 6, this particular space is 7. So the a has the 8th position, or we will say 8th index. So if I put 8 here, then I'll run it, shift enter, I'm supposed to get a. Okay, so this is what we mean by string is how do you call it, an array. Okay, so we can also print the individual element. okay, we can print the individual element of the list. So when I do print A, I'll get the string as it is. This is a string, but I want to print them individually. That means I have to introduce what we call loop. So briefly, this is not a details understanding of loop, but for you to appreciate strings. So for example, I could say for, then I'll define a new variable. I'll call it I. So for I in A, this particular A, because that's the string. So for I in A, which means that this I is going to be representing each member of the list. So for I in A, then enter. Make sure there is indentation here, because Python deals with indentation. If this blinking cursor here comes here, we will get error. We need a one tab. Anytime we are using a block, you have to use indentation. So print, let's say I, it will print all the elements in the list in an individual manner. So we have T H I S in that way. So this is an example that shows that strings are arrays in Python. Then we can also know the number of length, the number of the members of the list. We know the number of the members in the list. So for example, I want to know the number of characters in the string called A. What I could do is I could say print, then len is a function. Len is a function, then I put A there, then it will give me the number, which is 16. For the sake of this, I will comment this for loop out. Okay, so we have 16 characters in this particular string variable. Then we can also check if a word can be found in a list, if a particular word can be found in a list. So we could say that print let's say this in A. Okay, print this in A, and we will run it. Yes, the answer we are getting is true, because indeed this is inside A. This is inside A. But if I put, let's say, there in A, then we'll get error, because there is no there. We'll not get error, but we'll get false rather. We'll get false because it does not belong to the list. So these are some of the things we can work with strings. Now we have what we call slicing. We will look into deeper of it, slicing, when we get to arrays or sequence. No, so slicing is basically taking part of the sequence. We have a broader sequence, but we want to take part of it, like taking a slice of a cake, taking part of the cake. So we could have a new variable. I'll call it new var. Okay, and one thing too, you cannot define variable this way, new then space var. No, it's wrong. They have to be together. So new var equal to, then I'll give it hello world. This way, hello world. Now let's say I want to get the characters from the second position to the 5th position. Remember that we start counting from 0. So this age is 0, the E is 1, this L is 2 up to the last one. But when you are counting from the bottom, from the back, this D is equal to -1, this L is what, -2, R is -3 to the last one. That is when you want to start counting from behind. So for example, if I print new var, then I bring the square bracket this way, then I put -1, I'll have D printed because I want to start from the back. Now I want to slice, I want to get part of the list. So with slicing, we follow the same procedure. The formula is this is the formula. We put the start here, then we put a colon, then we put the end over here. So we want to get from the second position to the 5th position. Now please, I want everybody to pay attention. This is very essential. With the end, there is always a deficit of 1. There is always a deficit of 1. So if you want the end to be inclusive, you need to add 1 to it, like this, +1, so that the end number will be inclusive. So now if we want from the second position to the 5th position, that means that we are going to get up to the 4th position, because the end has a deficit of 1. So we want 2, the second position, that will be our start, then colon, then 5. So if we put 5 here, we are going to get the 4th position. So let's run it and see. Shift enter. Then we have so this is 0, this is 0, 1, then 2. So 2 start with L. So L, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So if we want to get the W, it is also treating the, how do you call, the space as a character. So let me write this. Okay. It will treat the space as a character. Now if you want to get the 5 to be inclusive, then we have to, you can do +5, the position +1. +1 this way, or you know it to be 6, then you put 6 there, then you get what you want. So now it is adding the space as part of it. Please, any question with this one?
I think it's okay.
Now, for example, if I want to get the elements or the characters from the 1st position to the 5th position, okay, I want to get from the 1st position to the 5th position. Now anytime you leave the start empty, it treats it as 0. Okay, if you leave it empty, you treat it at 0. So I want to get it from 0 to the 5th position, but not included. The 5th position is not included, so I'll put 5 here, then run it. Then I have hello. So it's starting from, because here is empty, it treats as 0. Okay, 0. Then if you want to also slice to the end, okay, so get the characters from the position 2 and all the remaining. We want to start from 2 to the end. What we'll do is I'll clear everything, then we'll put the position. So 2, we want to get it from 2, the second position, till the end. It includes all the elements, so we don't need to put anything here, just 2, then we run it, then we are good to go. So any question? We will take a deeper look when we get to sequences. Now let's look at one or two things in strings. So we can actually modify strings how we actually want it to be. Okay, I think this will be the last two things that I'll do under strings. So for example, this hello world, I want it to make it all uppercase. Okay, I want to make all uppercase. I could achieve that by saying that print then new var dot, so this is a method dot upper, okay, dot upper. Then when I run it, I'm not supposed to get error. Alright, yes, so I have all of them in uppercase. Now I want to pause and explain the difference between a function and a method. This is how we apply a function. So if you want to apply the function, you give the function name, then you bring a bracket here like this, then you put the variable inside. So this is a function. So with a method, you call the variable name dot the method this way. So you could see that this one we said new var dot upper, then it's a method. Now I don't want to confuse you so much. When we get to functions, I will explain what a function is and what a method is. But now we just need to know how to apply them. Now we could also print for lowercase. So new var dot lower, this way, print it. We have all of it in a lower case. Then we can remove white spaces. So let's say, let me add something to this particular list. Hello world, how are you? Then I want to get rid of the white spaces. I could say print new var dot strip. So when we run it, it will get rid of the white spaces. Now it will get rid of it in a sense that when you are trying to make, we use this mostly in validating user input. Sometimes some people, if we ask them to type their email, they will firstly put a space here, and when they are done to, they'll put another space.
But I mean, when you run, by my understanding of removing the white, it's supposed now to be one word.
Yes. So yeah, that's why I'm explaining further. So it takes away the first space and the last space.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Sometimes
not within the sentence spacing.
Yes, not with that.
Oh.
So we could do this, then it will get rid of it that way. Now these ones are very, very important. We might need it in future. Okay, we might need this. So sometimes we want to replace certain things, like as we were saying, a certain column could have, let's say, true or false. Then we want to replace it with numeric. We want to replace it, wherever we find false, we put, let's say, 0. Wherever we find true, we put 1. So we can actually do that. So we could say that print a dot split. Okay, or yes, let me finish the split. So dot split. Okay, so let me update the variable. Let me Okay, yeah, I have something that I can split. So either we can put a comma, or when we have this exclamation, so I'll put a dot split, then a string of exclamation. So what it will return is that it's going to split the variable into two after the exclamation mark. So when I print it this way, I have this is a string. Okay, so I have so it oh sorry, I put a over there. It's supposed to be, so no, new var.
Yes.
Is that correct? No, yes, sorry.
Yeah, it's supposed to be new var.
Yeah, new var, yes, this way. All right, so it will split it into two. So hello world, then how are you? So after the exclamation, you could split it. But if it's in a column, we have to use a for loop. So when we get to for loop, we appreciate it more. Then the last thing we look is the replace. So I will say that print new var dot replace. Now with the replace, we will need two arguments. The first argument is what you want to replace, and the second is what you want to replace with. So I want to replace the h. I want to get rid of the h. Then comma, and I want to replace it with what? J. Okay, so I want to take out the h, then replace it with j. So when you run it, so anywhere on the syntax where there is h, it will be replaced that way. So that is some of the things we could do with strings. Hello dog, can I proceed or?
Yeah,
All right, no problem.
I think it's plenty to me.
Yes sir.
I hope you got the recording right.
Come again.
I said I hope you got the recording right.
Yes,
because
yes.
we are just looking, because we're not practicing.
Yes.
When we get the recording, yes, we will not get the recording and follow and practice.
Yes, sir. It's still in process. Yes. Okay. Then we are going to look at
Right.
Boolean. Please, sir, this will be the last thing that we look today. The Boolean. So Boolean can only have one state. It's either true or false, and it can be both, and it can be any other thing. Okay. Sometimes in programming, we want to know if expression is true or false. Then we can perform certain tasks. So we can evaluate any expression in Python and get one of the two answers, that is either true or false. When you compare two values, the expression is evaluated and Python can determine whether it is true or false. So for example, I could say print 10 is greater than 2. Okay, when I run this, I'll get true, because indeed 10 is greater than 2. Then I could say print 10 is less than 9. is false because 10 is not less than 9. Then I could say print 10 equal to 8. Now this one, let's take much attention over here. When you want to compare in programming, when you want to compare, we use 2 equal to signs. But when you want to assign, you use 1 equal to. And it's very, very important. So when you run this, because it is not, it is false, because 10 is not equal to 8. And we could also have the inverse of it. We could say that 10 is not equal to exclamation and equal to sign 8. This one we are saying that 10 is not equal to 8, and indeed 10 is not equal to 8, so we are supposed to get the value of true. Okay, now we can also get boolean when we are trying to use if statement. When we are trying to use if statement, so for example, we could say x equal to 100, y equal to 20. Then we could have a condition saying that if x is greater than,
You didn't put the equals to,
yes,
the
yes,
y equals to 20.
yes, thank you, 20. Then we could say if x is greater than y, put colon. Then we can put any expression we want to do. So anytime you are using if statement, make sure after the colon you have one indentation. If not, you run into a problem. So we could say print, then we could print true over here. Okay, so x is greater than y is true, but if x is less than y, we will not get the value true. We will not get anything. So in order for us to get an alternative answer, we need to bring the else statement. So else print false. Else print false. So that's the false in case the condition is false. So I would like to end it here so that we can continue tomorrow, inshallah. So these are some of the basics of Python, and I'm sure by 5 meetings we'll be able to cover Python, and with some few practices and assignments we will be able to cover that. Then we can look at analysis with Python, NumPy, then pandas. Then we can take live projects, we all work together, then we can get to our objectives and goals. Please, any question?
Imam, I mean, me, I have live projects. When you get to that part, I'll give you a data.
Then we work on it, right?
Yes.
All right, that'll be fine.
Inshallah.
That'll be fine also. So thank you very much for your time,
But
everyone.
I think,
Doc,
yes,
I'm
I mean,
listening.
we are grateful.
Okay.
Yes, I said we are grateful. Kindly share the video with us.
All right, I'll do that right away before I attend to other things.
But my Python, I have to download a fresh one. The one we were using, I don't know what happened.
But are you still in Tamale?
Now I've gone to Kumasi.
Okay. I'll inshallah. I'm hoping to come there this weekend.
No.